Have you ever looked at a painting by Salvador Dali and just thought, what in the world am I even looking at? It's this whole world of melting clocks and ants crawling out of people and these bizarre dreamlike landscapes. It feels so random, right? So chaotic. Maybe even like the work of a madman. But what if I told you it's not random at all? That it's actually a code, a visual riddle, and today we're gonna crack it.
Okay, so take a look at this painting. It's called Endless Enigma. And yeah, at first glance, it just looks like a total mess. But look closer. Really look. Do you see it? There's a reclining philosopher and a greyhound and the face of a giant. It's all there, hiding in plain sight. And that right there is classic Dalí. He was a master of the double image, layering all these different realities onto one canvas. His work isn't just meant to be seen, it's meant to be deciphered.
So here's the most important thing to get. Dali's surrealism isn't just some bizarre artistic style. You have to think of it like a language, a really complex system that's built on his own personal symbols, some deep-seated psychological trauma, and, this might surprise you, a major obsession with science. And once you have the keys, his entire world just opens right up. So let's go find them. All right, our first key is understanding Dalí's personal alphabet. He used this really consistent set of symbols all through his work, and each one had a very specific meaning. It's almost like learning the hieroglyphs of his mind. Once you know what they mean, the paintings really start to talk to you. So let's start with the big one, the one everybody knows, the melting clocks. They're basically his signature, showing up for the first time in his masterpiece, The Persistence of Memory. They look like pure fantasy, right? But they're actually rooted in a very specific, very powerful idea. And get this, the origin story is kind of wild. Dalí himself said the whole idea came to him while he was watching Camembert cheese melt in the sun. So he took that image, combined it with the huge scientific ideas of his day, like Einstein's theory of relativity, and boom, you get this incredible symbol. The clocks represent time losing its rigid, mechanical meaning. It becomes fluid, personal, and totally warped by our memories and our dreams. All right, now let's go to a much darker corner of his mind and talk about another symbol that pops up all the time: ants. Now, if the clocks are all fluid and dreamlike, the ants are something else entirely. They're this raw symbol of anxiety and just dread. And this comes straight from a really traumatic childhood memory. When he was just 5 years old, Dalí saw a dead animal being eaten by ants. And that image, it just never left him. So from then on, anytime you spot ants in his work, you're literally looking at his obsession with death, decay, and all the deep anxieties that haunted him his entire life. But okay, his world wasn't all doom and gloom and decay. To balance out all that darkness, he had this really powerful symbol of optimism and protection: the egg. And this is just a perfect example of the two sides of Dalí, The egg stands for hope, for rebirth, for new life. It has that hard, perfect exterior protecting the fragile life that's inside. And for him, this was the perfect symbol for his wife, Gala. He saw her as his protector, the hard shell that kept his own fragile genius safe from the world. Now, symbols give us the words, but to really understand the sentences, the story, we need our second key. And this one is deep. It's not an object in a painting. It's a ghost from his past, a profound childhood trauma that became the master key to his entire identity. Just listen to Dalí's own words here. Wow. I mean, that is haunting, right? He's talking about killing his brother's image, of assassinating him. What could possibly make an artist say something that extreme? Well, the truth is way stranger and more tragic than you can probably imagine. The truth is laid out right here. Just 9 months before our Dalí was born, his older brother, who was also named Salvador, died. His parents were so lost in their grief that they told their new son that he was the reincarnation of the first one. Can you even imagine that? Growing up not as yourself, but as the replacement for a ghost you could never ever know. There's actually a psychological term for this: a replacement child. And this kind of profound identity crisis can lead you down a few different paths. Dalí, faced with this incredible pressure of living for two people, he channeled all of that conflict, all that guilt and dread into his art. He used creativity to carve out his own identity, to prove he wasn't just a replacement, but the one true divine Dalí. All right, on to our third and final key, And this one might actually surprise you the most. We all think of Dalí as this surrealist dreamer, totally lost in his own subconscious. But he was also a really rigorous thinker who was deeply and lifelong obsessed with the scientific revolutions happening all around him. Just look at this timeline. It's amazing. His interests perfectly track the biggest scientific breakthroughs of the 20th century. So in the 20s, it was all about Freud's theories of the mind. In the 30s, we already saw how Einstein's relativity influenced his melting clocks. The atomic bomb in the 40s terrified him and led to his whole nuclear mysticism period. And then, by the 60s, he was completely captivated by the very structure of life itself, the DNA double helix. And we're not talking about some casual interest here. I mean, the guy was a serious student. You can see it right here in his own notes. He studied the structure of DNA, and he meticulously built his paintings, like Lita Atomica, using mathematical principles. This tells us something huge. He wasn't just painting dreams. He was trying to map the very structure of reality.
See, for Dalí, science wasn't the opposite of magic or mysticism. They were two sides of the same coin. He looked at that DNA molecule and he didn't just see biology. He saw proof of a divine order. In that elegant spiraling code, he truly believed he had found the signature of God, and maybe even the biological key to immortality.
So let's bring it all home. Let's put it all together. The next time you look at a Dalí painting, you're not just seeing a weird dream. You're seeing a collision of these three really powerful forces. So there you have it, the three keys to unlocking Dalí. You've got his secret language of symbols, the core psychological trauma of being a replacement child, and his deep, deep fascination with science. You put them all together, and they form this complete system, this code that transforms his bizarre visions into a story that is deeply personal, intellectual, and emotional. And that brings us to maybe his most famous quote of all. Here's the thing you have to get about Dalí. He knew exactly what he was doing. His wild eccentricity, the mustache, his whole public persona, it was all a brilliant performance. It was a conscious construction, an act of creativity that came from a desperate need to just exist as himself. He wasn't mad, he was in control. So I guess the ultimate lesson from Dalí is that reality is always layered, and that just beneath the surface of the ordinary world, there are hidden connections and secret languages and profound truths just waiting to be discovered. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What codes are hiding in plain sight, in your own world, just waiting for someone to crack them?